Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning. Denmark is truly is known as the happiest country in the world, and that might make us a good example of how to live the good life. But what is it that makes us the happiest people in the earth? And what are we prepared for the future to stay the happiest people on earth? And maybe it would actually be more noble to ask what we can offer the world by being the happiest people on earth. Before I go on with the facts, I would like to invite you to a small exercise. Are you ready for that? Yes. Yeah? Great. Then in a moment I will ask to stand up and find yourself a partner. And when you have done that, then you grab each other's arms and you hold them like this, like if you were going to arm wrestle in the air. And when you've done that, when you have found your partner, then I will tell you what more to do. Okay? Rise up and find your partner. Okay. Great. Now, your job is, your job is to get your own hand down as many times as possible until I say stop, okay? Great, start now. Okay, thank you. Thank you, you can sit down again. Thank you very much. So, how many of you exceeded 20? Great, thank you. Then could you please show us how you did it? Please stand up and show us how you did it. Like that, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's give them a hand. Because this is actually the happy life. And it's also the future way of cooperating. I saw a lot of you, you were really fighting very much to get your own hand down. But this is actually the future. And it has something to do that the good life is not just by pursuing your own agenda and just fight back every time life doesn't go in your direction. Instead, it's about using the powers around you to fulfill some kind of common vision like you did. And the second thing is that it's also the way of cooperating. It's called co-creation. And it's because many of us are raised to pursue our own agenda. And that's good. That's very good because that has moved the world forward. But we are not fighting for survival anymore in our society. Instead, we need to develop society and develop humanity. And that means that we have to work together and find a common vision to work towards too. This is the way we're going to do it, and I'm going to explain more about what it is. When we do that, we agree on a common vision, and what happens is that this small exercise shows us that when we have this common vision, we reach a much higher goal. I could see some of you only had 1 or 2 times down, right? You had more than 20. So we reach a higher goal. It's much more fun. Sometimes people start to dance like this together. And second, it's with a lot less effort. So working together, creating together is the way to move humanity forward. Now, have we Danes done that? Is that what is special for us? We have a certain special core value that is the base of all the happiness in Denmark. And does it work? Yeah, oh, there, trust. The Danes' most important core value is actually trust. And to explain this, I would like to share a personal story from my own life. This is my mother and dad's wedding. My mother comes from Spain, and she's the bride in the picture on the left. Her father was a very skilled businessman, and her mother, she was a beautiful and, a little distinguished, beautiful lady from a good family. My grandfather, was very careful with money, and she was a very passionate and indulgent woman, so they didn't exactly share values in this aspect of life. On their honeymoon, one evening, she ordered a Chateaubriand, which was the most expensive course on the menu. very much to his dissatisfaction. But, you know, he loved her, and then she got her steak. And everything was actually very cool until the disaster happened. She could not eat all of it. I'm told that this tiny, small incident actually came to define their marriage. He never really trusted her again. And she, on the other hand, was never more passionate and you know, trusting with him either. So, of course, they didn't have exactly the best of all the marriages, which was very sad for them. The problem is that I'm sure they could have. Because if they had embraced their diversity, their differences, they would have had much more to work together with. Maybe because of that, my mother went along with all the differences and married this strange guy from far up north to the right. The guy there, that's my father. And they had 3 children. As the pictures show you, I grew up in the middle of a very passionate and warm, more Latin culture and the more cool and calm Nordic culture. And I'm sure that made me a sociologist, trying to analyze people and culture in order to understand them and to place myself with meaning in it. So, and thanks, Mom, for letting me share this story. I'm not so sure it's a very good story from family, but it shows the thing about passion and trust. And also, it shows a little of what makes a good life. First of all, trust, love, embracing diversity, and of course some kind of creativity. And knowing that the perfect life is not the good life. You cannot control life. The perfect life where everything simply goes and lives up to the highest expectations, from the right, self-assuring, creative job to a good marriage with lots of deep love and wild sex every day. Everybody has that today? Yeah? No? Yeah? Great. It becomes a minimum. But the problem is that it ensures that we become a fiasco every day, because no one can live up to that. Instead, we need to learn that the perfect life is more the dynamic life, that you never know where it goes to. Like today, nobody really knows what is going to go on today on TEDx, but we need to be open to the things that happens around you. Or in other words, the good life is to embrace diversity, to embrace the trust, and do like my mom did. Now, have we Danes done that? Well, let's look at our values and the negative consequences. We worship equality, and we certainly have one of the most equal societies in the world. We take very good care of the weakest people. We have equal rights between the genders. We have excellent family support system, and we pay so damn high taxes. This also gives us anti-hierarchical management models that again gives us strategic business advantages, because the good ideas flow freely in the organization. Instead of spending a lot of resources on controlling, we start and use them on creative power. Again, trust is an issue here. On the other hand, we simply cannot tolerate that someone is more worth than you. This has even its own concept that you know very well, called Jante law. And the First Amendment is, don't think that you're worth anything. Totally contrary to what we're going to do today. So that leads us to the downside of equality, mediocrity. Standing out has never really been a virtue in Denmark, and we have almost made mediocrity a kind of an advantage in our national understanding. Maybe because we had to, because in 1864 we lost a great deal of Denmark to Germany, and we had to figure out what kind of value we had as a nation. So we became very introvert. This is, however, changing, and we experience a new generation that wants to be outstanding and who really has the talent and the motivation to do so. Now, the second thing is that we also have a very strong feeling of community. We are the countries with the most voluntary societies, Foreningsdanmark as we are known, and we simply love it. We cannot gather together almost without making some kind of formal organization with chairman and membership and rules and things like that. And this is what forms us very much as a modern tribe. And it also makes us very homogeneous, much too homogeneous, because we need the conflicts. We need the differences to make a creative tension. So the fluctuation between different ideas and norms and values and behavior fertilize each other in order to develop society. Finally, we Danes think that we are very liberal-minded. We like to say that we practice an enlightened form of tolerance, and especially when it comes to sexual lifestyles or personal moral and ethics. It is no coincidence that in Denmark that porn was released first, also like it was the first country where we had legally binding partnerships between homosexuals. We got our freedom of speech very much, which got us into trouble in 2005 when the Danish newspaper Jyllandsposten printed the satiric drawings of the Muhammad. Some of people, they damned us about it, others admirers of it, but we have the belief that no one, simply no one, should tell us what we should do. And the downside of this liberal-mindedness is the indifference. Our patient has a negative side to that. We might accept bad conditions for much too long, for fear of conflicts. For instance, we have a very high rate of suicide, and we drink too much, especially here at Christmas time. But especially the young people drink much too much. And this happens also because we have a fear of interfering in other people's personal lives, because we have the state to regulate us, and it certainly does that. So equality, community, and liberal-mindedness, together with trust, gives us the happiest society in the world. Please feel free to be inspired by that. And also, please disregard our mediocrity, our homogeneous and indifference. We Danes are not perfect either, so we need to keep on developing too. So are we Danes cut out for the future? Yes, we are. And I will present a matrix to you that explains why. So the last 5 years, more or less, we have started giving a little up on this massive focus we have had on autonomy and individualism, and that rise in the 1980s with the yuppie culture and all that. And instead we start to focus more and more on free neo-tribal communities. Today it's cool to be social again. At the same time, it's very clear that one of the most important capacities of today is to be an independent thinker and creator, and not just to reproduce the social systems that are already existing. In order to understand our time and the forces that are working around us, I made a matrix that I presented in my latest book, and it's this one. So the two axes, if you have autonomy here, and you have community there, and you have reproduction here and production up there, then these axes gives 4 different kinds of life forms. You have ego party, is about status and prestige and autonomy and personal needs. And the number one, in Denmark, in the world, in women tennis, is the Dane Caroline Wozniacki. She is certainly pursuing her own agenda, but she is also inspiring thousands and thousands of other people to reach their own goals, not just within tennis, but a lot of other things. And this ego party has really been very necessary to develop, because it has grown society and has liberated a lot of creative energy and power in the society. Then we have jurism. Jurism is about becoming enlightened through other people and seeking community with same intentions, led by some kind of charismatic guru or leader. The Danish CEO and owner of Hummel Sportswear, Christian Stadil, is a good example of a businessman who has moved in new direction and has made an inspiring and cutting-edge company, for instance, by practicing Buddhist philosophy in his work with great success. As we in the Western world see these two life forms decrease, we see them arise in lands and countries like China, Brazil, India, and Russia. And the West is now instead turning to adulthood and co-creation. That's the two new life forms we're going to have more focus on. Because since the 50s, youth has been really the cool factor, and being a grown-up was, almost a punishment. This is, however, also changing, and the signs are everywhere. We speak about primetime women. We love TV series as Mad Men, as Sex and the City, Desperate Housewives, and more fashion and business magazines are making themes about this new life form. We now seek to embrace experience and responsibility and breed a whole new kind of grown-up lifestyle that contains the best from both the youth's open-minded and dynamic way of living on one side and the adult way of taking responsibility for many more than just yourself. The Danish company, The Sociologist, is a shining example on adulthood, because Torkild Sonne has a son that is autistic, and to help his son to get a good life and a good job when he grew up, he started a company that makes special use of the special skills that autistic have. So they made autism an asset, and is also a good example of why the Danes are so very much in front of innovation, social innovation. And then we have the last life form, co-creation. This is, without a doubt, the most important life form for the future. And it will be paramount to embrace this kind of life form if you want to survive as a company or an organization. It is all about creating, not just cooperating with others, and accepting and nurse the creative individual minds and understand how you make them work and develop together. The Danish Green think tank, headed by Martin Lidegaard, is an inspiring example of how this is done by including both NGOs on one side and oil companies on the other side, two parts that normally would waging war. They go together now to find out how to lower the CO2 in Denmark. So yes, we Danes are actually ready for the future. We have all the right factors with us to be creative. We are already a unique combination between institutionalization and community on one side and the independence and liberal thinking on the other. The best possible mix for co-creation. Now we just need to keep on developing our society by adding more passion and diversity to it. There are countries much less happy than Denmark, and Ghana is one of them. In October this year, I visited Ghana for the humanitarian organization Care Denmark. Here I met Tashira, who was accused of being a witch. After being beaten and banished by her late husband's brother, she came to a so-called witch village where Care and other partners helped her and the other women to have a good life and to contribute to society. And just by living their lives, they provoke a change of mindset and contribute to the evolution of a whole country. And that is what I want you to do too. Live your life to change the world. The truth is that most of us have witches of our own. We tend to banish our talent, our creative power, our dreams, and we are often the harshest critics of ourselves. In doing so, we withhold our original contribution to mankind, and this is a loss for everybody. And that is why I would like to ask you all here to consider this. What is your purpose of life? How will you create evolution? Please take just a small moment to think about that. Thank you for your attention.